Fred Noble.
Here.
Jen Reimer.
Here.
And Bill Jenks.
Here.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. Adrian Jadik, 48 Cardinal Road.
Thank you.
So I want to address item 17 on today's agenda.
17.
Yeah, the
Got it.
flag thingy. What is being discussed, first of all, let's start with a startup. What's being discussed is not a mural. All definitions of mural, Czech Latin, it's on walls. On floor is not a mural. At least that's on my English language. So this is pavement painting, and it originated from an earlier proposal to have the Girl Scouts paint an American flag on the ground at Happy Hollow. This was major embarrassment for the borough. The Wyomissing School Board quickly recognized that this is a flag desecration, exactly as I and others pointed out earlier. Yet despite 3 council members being bar certified attorneys and also the solicitor, which we pay, only one recognized the obvious and obviously advised against it. The amount of wasted time, staff hours, emails, back and forth discussions, and legal consultation just because Bill Jenks wanted to paint something to look active in an election year. It's appalling. Beyond the absurdity of this entire discussion, I have serious concerns, continue just right now with whatever change you want, with a practical execution of this so-called mural. Number one, are we expecting Girl Scouts to kneel for hours painting a walkway? Who thought this was a reasonable idea? 2, ground paint for outdoor surfaces requires specialized material with volatile organic compounds, VOCs. Professional painters use respirators for application. Are we asking minors to work with hazardous materials? This is not sidewalk chalk. Even if applied correctly, painted pavement becomes slippery when wet. Has anyone considered the liability? Are these kids signing a waiver for potential injuries? How do you vision this to happen? Who will maintain it? Outdoor paint fades, chips, deteriorates. Are we now tasking Public Works with touch-ups or blacking it out later? Why would we do that? Again, the term mural is misleading. The Latin root for mural literally means wall. This is not a mural. It's a pavement painting and a bad idea from the start. Why are we even doing this? Can't we spend resources on something that actually benefits the taxpayers? At this point, this issue should be fully abandoned. Wyomissing should stop wasting time, performative patriotism, and focus on actual governance. On a positive note, the fast bridge fiber, I have installed them, and I have only good words to say about them. They have fabulous customer service. You know that I don't mince my words when something goes bad. But these guys, I mean, the service is fast. I use for uploads on YouTube. It's fast. And like I said, it's one of the best things that happened in Wyomissing in a long time. And I think I had another one since I still have 5 minutes, right? I still have whatever minutes.
You still have a minute.
Yeah, I have. I forgot. Yes, the Stonehouse Park project. So I sent you all a report on, which I think was very well documented, although nobody said a word of appreciation of the execution of that thing. It could be that this was designed badly by McCarthy. It looks like, from what I saw in the elevations over there, that they asked for this slope. I don't know why would they do that. It's against the code. But the question is, we need to find out what is going on there, and we simply cannot. I mean, that's absurd. Anyone? That's fine. I got it. So we need to have some transparency as what is going on. Why are we paying for this when it's done how it's done? And why are those parking spots so narrow? It just doesn't make sense. Obviously, the assumption is that limit is considers that there is pavement, not that there is, you know, you can fall behind that thing. I mean, you could say it's at the edge of a precipice. No, you can't do that. Okay?
Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Public comment. Bill Jenks, 1914 Sturbridge Drive. Has a great political speech.
It's not political.
Excuse me, I'm talking. Why, just wanted to say that if I recall, that at council meeting, we said the reason we could not take action on the painting at the Stone House was because it's not our property in which to do so. So we were waiting to hear, get a formal letter from the school board with their feelings on the matter. So we now have that, and so now we can move forward. So I don't know where this sitting, doing nothing, and other people, we just gave our own opinions. So I don't understand where he's getting his information from. So just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Any other public comment? And all I'll say on that is, I think the Girl Scouts came to us about your.
Yes, this
Yes,
is not
they did.
taxpayer money, this
Yeah.
is the Girl Scouts coming
Yeah,
to
they
us
came to us.
requesting,
They asked us.
they asked us
Okay.
to be the painting.
We're good.
That's correct.
Well, let's all have some information.
Yeah.
Let's wait till we get the agenda. All right, 1725 Dolphin. Got a lot of ink on them today.
They should be hopefully coming off of both the agenda and the codes report in, I'd say, the next couple of weeks, if not maybe final closeout in April. They have moved forward with their contractor installing the stormwater management facilities. McCarthy's office has been on site for inspections, so hopefully we'll put that one to bed very shortly.
So the problem that arose, they think they have an answer for at this point.
They cut the line. It was abandoned. So yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else on 1725? Let's move to the codes report, zoning and codes report, excuse me.
I was gonna give updates on the 3 properties I expected to get questions on, which are the Crown Plaza, Radisson, Sheridan, depending what you wanna call it. Both that property and 1306 Penn Avenue are on the agenda for next Tuesday's County Blighted Property Review Committee hearing. 1306 was actually sold at sheriff's sale in February. I've given the phone number I had for the gentleman who identified himself as the new owner to Joan London, who is the solicitor for the Blighted Property Review Committee, and I believe she's going to reach out to him to let him know that just because the property transferred, it does not mean that the Blighted Property Review Committee is going to table action. They will move forward with potentially certifying it as blighted, and she is going to speak to him to see if he is agreeable to remediating the issues, and then they would obviously not certify it as blighted. In terms of the Crown Plaza, Radisson, Sheridan, whatever you want to call it, that would be a vote to move forward with starting the process to certify the property as blighted. At the January hearing, the county considered the application that Kraft's office had submitted and made a vote to accept the application and then move forward based off their schedule. In terms of the Berkshire Mall, there's a status conference hearing scheduled for 1 p.m. next Monday at Judge Fiedemann's office. There are 5 items coming out of the last hearing before Judge Fiedemann in February that there were deadlines. The mall ownership agreed to comply anywhere between March 4th and March 21st. To date, none of those items have been complied with.
See a surprise on my face.
Did anybody have any questions on the report otherwise?
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the fourth and only pump station.
do this per developer rather than make them all pay this big chunk of money, which they all serially agreed not to do. Here we are back to where we were 6 months ago.
So, after the last meeting, there was follow-up discussion between Chris, myself, Jim at McCarthy's office, and primarily in this case, the owner of the Van Reed Apartments, who has indicated he is anywhere from 2 to 10 years away from developing. So when we asked for those agreements to be finalized, submitted, and the fees paid, he was saying he understands by not signing and not paying the amount now, he is at risk when he is ready to develop for paying the full cost to upgrade the pump station at that time. So with that, there was communication between Chris and the attorney for Kevin Hughes's project, Boiler House Island, where we effectively, well, Chris effectively told them that, and Chris, interrupt if I misstate, with the amount that I believe was $135,000 Kevin would be required to pay with execution of his agreement, we can fully commit to his time frame for development, and I believe it was also going to stop him from having to go through the full submission of a planning module.
Yeah, well, it's DEP permitting will be reduced because the scope of work at the pump station is less as a result of the, fewer.
Not a great place to get
reviews that we need to accommodate. So, I mean, last fall, we had a number of developers who all indicated that they were moving forward with projects. And it is more efficient in terms of the permitting, design process, those soft costs that the borough needs to incur to do those projects if we can do them all together. There's also, efficiencies in terms of the cost of the project, so, in terms of the hard costs. So for all those reasons, it's much better to do these upgrades at one time rather than to piecemeal them over a series of projects. But, we can only move forward with projects that are willing to commit at this point. And so that's what we're doing. And so we're going to accommodate 3 developers with this upgrade of the pump station, and the remaining developers will have to pay for the upgrades that are needed when they choose to move forward with their projects.
So to be clear, we're not paying for an upgrade down the road. We're paying for an upgrade that's ready to happen.
We're asking the developers to contribute the costs that are needed to meet the needs of their projects. So we're not putting any borrowed money into these upgrades, and we're not paying for speculative needs.
Got it. Okay.
If I could just add too, with the reduction on the amount of apartments that was proposed versus what's happening now, it changes things. And the fourth and only pump station with some of these subtractions is not going to get totally replaced as we had planned because there's less apartments. It'll just get some minor upgrades to the existing station. And Wynwood pump station will also get some upgrades.
That's
but
why-
a full-blown replacement is not in the cards right now.
That's right, and that's why we don't need all the DEP permits, and the project can proceed much faster than it would have if we had a larger project that needed more DEP permitting.
Isn't that exactly what we wanted to do to start with?
No, we were going to, when all the proposals were on the table,
Right.
that pump station couldn't be tweaked or upgraded. It would have to be replaced with a bigger pump station. But now it doesn't.
But it will be in the
It will
future.
be in the future.
At the developer's
So
expense.
we're not building for future expansion, we're building for current expansion.
Yes.
The projects that are ready to proceed.
Okay. What else we got on, what else do we want to discuss on this thing?
Nothing, there's no action needed.
Okay. So we're good with that, we're building for current needs that we know of, not future needs. Understood? Western Berks Water Authority?
I
just a couple of small items for you as a follow-up to the quarterly meeting with the boroughs. Matt is looking at the cost benefits to the authority and the borough regarding combining efforts to automate meter pit readings. Jim, I guess you sent an email to Chip and Matt.
Correct.
They got it. I assume a reply is forthcoming. And also, for various reasons, we had to reschedule a bunch of our board meetings for this year, and unfortunately, they're going to conflict with this meeting. So for May, June, September, November, and December, we won't have anybody here. If there's anything we need to report, I'll try to get an email to you, Michelle, I guess. And also, spring break, I'm not going to be here next month, so you're not going to see much of me this year.
Try to keep us updated as best you can.
Yep.
So I have a couple questions. So when I got the report that I got the day after the last infrastructure meeting, it was very interesting. But why was there a spike in water sales in 2012?
He's talking about the report. Do you remember I referenced when we had the internal staff meeting, Chip gave me, well actually Matt gave me the two reports. There was like the scaled down version, but then the full blown version that went back over consumption, sales, everything.
In 2012,
Did it have something to do when you had to sell water to Rawa?
I don't know. I think it's before my time. So.
But was there a time in 24 when you had to sell water to Rawa?
Yes.
But he's talking about 12.
He's talking about
Oh,
2012.
you're talking about 2012. Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's
That-
hard to pronounce when you look at the graph chart. But anyway, I just thought we might know it just is what it is. But anyway.
I don't know. I can try to find out for you.
That's all right. How about, so when you look at the increase in the rate increase, 21% is going to operating and 79% is going to capital. So going forward, is the new normal going to be skewed more towards capital expenses for the hybrid model of debt financing and saving? What's that going to look like going forward? I mean, I saw some numbers there at the back, 4%, 15%, and I couldn't
Right.
Those are
make
my
any
notes.
sense of it.
Those are my notes.
I think for the next several years, it's probably going to look like that. The capital part of it is to fund the whole plant upgrade.
Gotcha.
That's big.
And it was 95% driven by regulatory requirements.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff that we have to do.
Right.
Some of it might be on hold just because we don't know what's happening, with the new administration, with PFAS and all that. So we're kind of holding on for a little bit, but it's a lot of the other stuff's still going to have to happen.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Budget going forward,
yeah.
what percentage typically are you going to be paying for operating versus capital? Is going to be, it's not going to be skewed the way that increase is. I mean,
I think it's.
budget.
I can't say for sure. I think it's still going to be skewed. Part of the problem was we intended to start saving a couple years ago, but the water sales kept going down, so that cut into all of the savings that we had planned on accumulating. So it's tough to say. It depends on where water sales at. Fortunately, they've been very good at keeping operational costs down. That'll continue, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. Interest rates.
Yeah, I thought the report was very well done.
I'll pass it on to them. They worked hard on it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be skewed like that for the next several years.
If I could just add one quick thing, the first item that Chris spoke about, the meter reading. Every day now, we have to send a guy out in the morning first thing and checks the 5 source meters where we take Westernburg's water from. And we use it for leak detection more than anything. We get a daily reading and we see if there's a variance in that. And because they're changing to the type of meters that we currently use, we can kind of piggyback on there and get a cellular information from each meter. And now we won't have to waste an hour or two every morning driving to each of these locations getting a meter reading. It'll come to us via email or for something similar. So that'll be, when that gets implemented, will be a good time saver for us.
Good news. Okay. Anything else on, well, we have, I assume we're, well, I'm gonna take, or make a recommendation, we table ownership discussions of the light.
Yeah, I'm still, trying to get stock to engage me on
Okay. So, I have a motion and a second to table the ownership suggestions by the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Sanitary sewer?
On West Lawn, is that in? Not yet. Not yet. Shortly, be going out to bid.
Okay.
Just so everybody's clear on that, this is, it's a good-sized project, but it's not like the Spring Township one that we just went through. It will start on Cambridge Avenue on the other side of the street from the high school. That's the starting point, and the end point is on Old Mill Road, right near the Conservancy. So it's a decent project, but not near the scope of Spring Township.
Taking up Old Mill Road again?
Yeah.
They can't be happy.
Well, what'll happen there too is they never did final restoration, Spring Township, on Old Mill Road. They patched the trenches, but they need to do an overlay over that, so we'll probably delay that overlay.
No, just say we might as well delay it until. Okay. All right, that's the borough, Wyomissing, Goodwood Pump Station upgrades, nothing yet, that's not till midsummer.
Yeah, that's part and parcel with Fourth and Only, both will get some upgrades.
Streets, review and discuss the bid results. So I apologize, I came in late Saturday night, haven't had a chance to review anything, how'd we do?
Good.
How good?
On budget.
We're gonna give Nick Caduce here. The budget was $615,000, and the low bid was $387.
That's not good.
$387 off.
That is good, that part's good. Okay, so we're on budget for the streets,
Correct.
meaning you're not getting any extra streets, which you want to get. Okay. State Hill Road improvements, anything new there?
Wait,
Oh,
do we need to move?
we need to
I'm sorry,
recommend that.
I'm sorry. So I'll make a motion to recommend the council the award of the 2025 street improvement projects to the lowest qualified bidder, who was
CMS.
CMS? CMS. Second. We have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Good job. PennDOT State Hill Road improvements,
There's no update.
nothing there, okay. 50/50 sidewalk, I saw you on TV, Jim, that was nice.
We're getting a lot of, applicants. They have till the end of, they'll have to the end of April, I believe. But it should be a pretty big year between the TV spot, and it's gonna be in the newsletter, it's going out shortly. So it should be, yeah, in Kraft's letters, yeah.
Yeah, is there a way that we can figure out of all the letters that Kraft's sending out versus the people who apply, can we cross-reference those to figure out who hasn't applied and maybe send them one more letter?
We already did that.
I know, but can we cross-reference them and see who it is? Well, not who it is, but how many there are? I don't care who it is.
I think they're all referenced actually in the codes report, because when I was looking through it this morning.
No, I'm talking about who's applied for the 50/50 though, out of that. Is that in there too?
Yes, and I mean, there were several that the committee and council had already approved us doing the work for them,
Okay.
which we have the right to do. And that was in all of the prior letters / warnings that they got.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to water then, the 2024 water mean, everything's complete, everything's bid out, we're gonna see that next month maybe? Okay. Cambridge Avenue Culvert pedestrian bridge, I know we have some things to discuss, anything other than that?
Other than the payouts, not that I'm aware
Okay.
of.
So we need a motion to approve our table recommending change order number 3 to council for the final quantity adjustment in the amount of, for the final quantity adjustment number 3. So I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any questions?
What's the amount?
It's a decrease in 1550.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Motion is second. All those in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, then we have change order number 3, change order number 8, pay application number 8, Construction Master Services. And we need a motion to approve, deny, or table recommending the council payment application number 8, the amount of $67,998.70 to against CMS, and I'll go ahead and make that recommendation.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. You want to have any discussion on the administration and police department needs?
I don't know that there's anything to discuss it.
I agree with you, but I'm just making sure. Okay. Public Works Garage.
We,
So we're working on getting some money back now.
yeah, we had, was it last week? Yeah,
Last
we
week.
had a meeting with, Dan Tech, who is the analyst assigned by the Office of the Budget to review all of our documents for compliance. All I have to say is, if we did not have grant writers helping us with compliance, the sheer volume with this particular grant of what is required to be uploaded and reviewed, I honestly don't know that it would have been worth the $3 million.
There's a couple people, this is like full employment for
Yes.
grant people to.
I mean, everything from certified copies of payroll records to
Steel
yeah,
certs.
the amount of documentation that the state wants to see and review is mind-boggling. So kudos to Econ Partners; they are very well versed. One of their employees actually came from the Office of the Budget to work for Econ, so they know all the ins and outs to this, which has been instrumental in helping us.
Smart with the
What's the number look like that would be reimbursed?
I think we're still close to about 2.7.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. Stonehouse project.
The only thing there is we're gonna wait another month to see how the grass comes up. A couple little punch list items, but we're just holding retainage in case they need to do some seeding.
And the award for that we don't get that money until,
We've submitted reimbursement other than, I think there's 60,000 left under
Right.
the DCNR grant. We've been, for the most part, fully reimbursed.
we're gonna reimburse it, we put that, okay, great. Parkland study,
I really need to give a lot of credit to Larry Lloyd and Jeremy Haymaker at Berks Nature, because they have been a huge help. I brought them in as part of the Rotary grant that we were going after, and then Larry kind of put a bug in my ear as to the Schuylkill Highlands mini grant, the Berks County Conservation District grant, the Berks County Planning Commission grants, and we now have apps in, or will have apps in, with other organizations for additional funding. They're not big pots of money. We're talking anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000. But when you cobble them together on top of the $20,000 the borough budgeted, and the Berks County Conservation District grant would likely only be for $4,000 or less, but that's for us to do a forestry plan, which is one of the primary recommendations of the study, and the $4,000 would cover the total cost and then some. So stay tuned. I should have more information in the upcoming months, but we will likely be able to do triple the amount we thought we could in the first 12 to 18 months.
great, good to know. Anything to do on the lead rule update?
Continue to work on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ron. Go ahead.
I'd just like to go back to Constable Bill Reed, the invasive species. Are we free of possible death from invasive species? Yes, and put the flowers in the area we talked about for the last 6 months.
You're probably 2, if not 3 years out from that area being suitable for planting anything.
Really?
Well, I mean, we haven't even touched invasives and removing them. The grant money we're applying for is to help us do that.
It's really perplexing that there's a plot of land that is probably 1/4 of an acre that has supposedly invasive species in it, which before we knew that we were under attack, there were beautiful flowers there for 10 years. And all of a sudden, they're under attack, and we can't get rid of these things with a sprayer in an hour and a half, and have somebody plant these flowers there, which would grow for the next 3 years while we wait to see the invasive species climb to strangling us or whatever's going to happen. And can't we do something positive people can see now rather than wait 3 years for it?
We are gonna be doing something positive as part of the educational signage in terms of educating the public as to what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the future looks like.
Yeah, I know, but I'm one of the public, and I'd rather see a whole acre of wildflowers in the next 4 months than a sign that says, don't walk here, there's an invasive species here, or whatever the sign is gonna look like. I mean, I don't like signs to start with, but if you want to put signs up, that's fine. But why can't they clean that out? Maybe Jim and Greg have an answer. I know it's not their job now, but if you could wipe out that, plant wildflowers there, end of story, project done, move on.
Are you talking about the area where the construction trailers are at for the sewer
No.
work?
No, he's talking about across
I'm
the
talking
street.
about the parking
Oh.
lot. that
Not
you
far
get
from
out.
the sign. If you're
The
walking
parking
down
lot and the sign, that
To
like,
to the left of
Right.
that, there's a wedge
it's a
of
floodplain.
grass. That's what he's talking about.
It was the same spot that your guy,
Yeah,
before he died,
yeah.
was doing every
Yeah.
day. because-
We've been spraying for the last, what, 2 weeks? We have been doing some, not that it's the end all, but we've started some control.
Well, is the spraying gonna result in, I wake up one morning and all these things have died and they're laying on the ground?
No
Or they
one
have
will
to be
notice
cut,
this.
Or what?
No, what we're spraying now is just starting to sprout up, so we're trying to get to it before it becomes more.
Right, so how long would it take to wipe out that section of invasive species and plant wildflowers?
Well, it probably wouldn't take very long if we got a bulldozer, one in there, bulldozed it and dug it up. But I think we're trying to start this project off right and have it set up in a system, starting with the buffer line, so we keep our creek in line and section it out, not just randomly go to a spot and start doing something, and then go to another random spot and start doing something. We're really truly trying to plan this out, so the community knows where we're starting, where we hope to end, and what's gonna take place in that spot, so we don't get so many questions.
Well, it just seems to me that, you know, with us spending money, sometimes it's nice to see some result. If you're the public and you're looking at us spending money, and if this is not a project that takes a whole lot of time, it's just not in the order of prioritization, which has nothing to do with the importance of it being done first or last. You could just do it and then it'll be done, as opposed to waiting 3 years to get to it.
Well, we're not waiting, and time, we truly don't have a lot of it, because there's 3 guys out spraying. And there's a lot of parkland, so I'd have to pull those 3 guys, have them focus on that project. It would take a week at least to get all that done.
3 years?
There's-
That takes a week out of spraying, and the more you let the stuff grow, the harder it is to kill it. Along with all our other projects, it's only a week, but it's a big deal when it comes to weather. If it's raining, they can't spray. Not to shoot down what you're saying, I think it will look great, but we're just trying to keep it order.
There is some priority to doing the stream bank first too, in that we're trying to create a riparian buffer that stops the stream bank from further eroding, which is one of the primary hazards identified in the plan.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, the Parks Department is already chasing their tails. We're so behind on these invasives having gotten over. If they lose a week and you try and plant these seeds and the riparian buffer is not, and we get a flood, all the seeds are washed out, and immediately the invasives, who are probably still dormant under the ground, are just gonna come back up. And that week of labor and time and money spent is shot, it's gone, we gotta start over again. I know where you're coming from, but it's far more delicate a situation than you realize.
Well, it just seems like if we mention something that would bring beautification to the area, it gets shot down. You can't put a split rail fence up because it'll get flooded and all that has to go away. That was something that people
Is there
like,
another
well, they could put that up, and it would take a day and a half, and we've already spent 6 months on it. And now we go to wildflowers, and that's gonna be the end of the world unless we wait 3 years to do it. So all these nice little things don't happen. We make signs.
Ron, you will find a nice little thing.
I was gonna say,
Last year I heard, you know,
the
I
5
heard,
areas.
you guys want to see color, the wildflowers at the circle was not cutting it. So we planted, I think, 7,000 daffodils and tulips, and they're starting to come up, and we put them in every area of the borough to give some of that, you know, you guys asked, you know, we want to, you know, do this something, and it's instant gratification. You know, they worked pretty hard at it last year to get them in at the right time, but hopefully that gives you something.
So you're saying there's gonna be some beautification there?
Yeah.
You'll see in the
we're pretty
next
excited
month.
about it, oddly enough, yeah. It's
Not in
pretty
that
cool.
specific spot
No.
throughout the
Throughout
borough.
the borough.
Yes.
At the circle,
I
different,
think you
different
guys did a
prominent
great job.
spots.
The tree, everything you're doing there is exactly what we asked for. But it didn't come as number 26 in the list. You jumped right on it. You jumped right
It's
on
not near the creek.
It's
Right,
and
it's
you
a
jumped
smaller
right on.
scale. It was a feasible project that there wasn't a whole bunch of things tied to it. The parklands, there's so much tied to it. And there's so much time that has gone by where we weren't looking at it, and now we're looking at it, we're going, oh my God.
I agree, and you also jumped into the pool, into the pond for ice skating. You saw instant gratification there, just like that. And for the amount of money that's spent to do these things, it seems like a great idea because we're getting so much crap from people about things we're doing. That what are we doing this for? We're fighting over flags and we're fighting over this. Let's do something that people like and move on with.
I'm hearing that we are, just not in the spots that you're discussing.
Right.
We're doing it in other spots. And listen, I agree, if we could throw a Band-Aid on it, but we're gonna, one flood, the seeds are gone, to Jen's point. We killed, I'm guessing if we're putting spraying stuff down to kill the invasive species, you can't plant, right, you can't plant anything there for a while anyway, because it's not gonna grow, because I'm guessing it's gonna kill the flowers too, or is it just specifically?
I don't know if that's the case, it's
So it's not
spraying
like grass when you
pinpointed.
put down
It's
the,
spot
when you put down the preventer, you can't put grass seed down either.
It's spot treatment.
Well, I think we need to stick with what the plan is and keep moving forward. And I agree, Ron, there are some things that you wish we could just knock out, but let's move forward with the project and hopefully 2 to 3 to 4 years from now, we will see beautification along the whole process. Lead rule update, Jim?
Still, we'll be working on it forever. We have about 100 pieces of data that we're gonna upload this week that won't take some of these 600 homes off the list, but it'll be one of 2 or 3 things you have to prove before you can take them off the list, but we're progressing.
Okay. Anything change with the new administration?
I wish it would, but not so far.
I see that as being our next big issue that we're gonna keep ahead of with all the residents who are gonna be potentially affected by it. We gotta keep updating. I'm not saying now, but
Yeah.
once we get some more clarity on that, because that could be a big project for a bunch of different residents in the borough, and I have no idea who those people are. So, okay. Median Island on the Boulevard, the school gave us approval to print a mural.
So actually, to give some clarification here, the reason that the discussion of the quote-unquote mural is under this agenda topic is to go back to where this conversation started. The Girl Scouts came to us
Yes.
and asked to paint something on the median island in front of Atonement Lutheran Church on Wyomissing Boulevard. There was discussion about the safety of them actually doing that there. That's when it was like, hey, maybe doing something at one of the playgrounds would be a better alternative. You may also recall at a meeting, I believe September, October, Infrastructure and Council. Council did approve at Infrastructure's recommendation, Public Works moving forward with ripping out that median and putting the river rock that is being installed there in its place, just to clear up something that was stated at a prior meeting under public comment that council never approved that. Council very much did approve that. So that leads us to where we are now with this agenda item in terms of the median island really being flip-flopped to Happy Hollow and also the Wyomissing Hills Playground. The Girl Scouts coming to us and requesting a place that they could paint something, and here we are.
So, on the agenda, it says, there we go, stuff like that.
That is,
Does the school give us approval to do this?
yes, they were fine with that.
Yep.
And these are not painted on the ground, these are actually painted on the covered up windows. This is kind of a, I guess, Photoshop of the building at Happy Hollow. That ground level has those windows that are not actually windows.
Can I ask you a question? I thought the resolution of the school issue was, the school said, be on the ground, you own the stuff that's on it, you do whatever you want to do. So why do we need to ask them if they like tulips or draperies or
You
something?
don't think they own the building?
What? I'm
think
just
we own
saying,
the
they
building?
said we could do whatever we want, they own the ground. The ground isn't the building, the ground is the ground. Do we have to go back and get approval for
That's-
those boxes?
That's actually not what they
That's
said.
not
They
what
said, since the Wyomissing Area School District is owner of a property which is leased to the Borough of Wyomissing, the request was reviewed at the Facilities and Finance Committee meeting that was held on February 12th, 2025.
What was it say?
So they then went on to say that they were not in favor of the flag being painted, however, they would, like to provide the opportunity to the Girl Scout troop to suggest another way that they could potentially show their patriotism at Happy Hollow.
Are you talking about the school district, to them, or to us?
The school district is saying the school board would like to provide the opportunity to the Girl Scout troop to suggest another way that they could potentially show their patriotism at Happy Hollow.
So they're talking about us, not about.
They're talking about the Girl Scouts.
No, I understand, but they're not saying the Girl Scouts have the opportunity to go back to the school board and do something else. They're just saying they
Well,
can
they
go back
could if
to
they
us and
wanted
do
to.
something else.
I would take, the school board would like to provide the opportunity to the Girl Scout troop to suggest another way, to suggest, come back to us with something different,
It doesn't
and,
say that.
I mean, to me, that's what that says.
No, it says you shouldn't do the flag because you
Agree.
think it's a dumb idea. But if you have another idea, go back to Happy Hollow because we don't do flags and we don't do, flower boxes. We have to go back to the school board, the finance committee, to ask them if we can put window treatments in
I
the
think
place
we're
of the
already
school.
said-
They own the building for God's
But I
sake.
think we already said that they've already
Yeah.
said
And
go
they
ahead.
said
They've approved
that-
they've approved
Okay,
this
we
for
said that.
That's what I
Happy
just
We
said.
said that
We
5
don't
minutes
have to
ago.
go back to them to do it.
No, because they already approved it.
Yeah.
They did.
They
They
did, they told us we can do it.
Did they see that? The school
Yes.
board saw that at the meeting?
I
No.
shared this with Mark, I was not
Those
at the
pictures.
meeting. Yes,
Those pictures were shown to us alongside the flag.
back in the fall.
Back in the fall, the Girl Scouts showed us an image of the flag, the altered flag being painted on the ground and these window boxes. So we sent the flag and the window boxes to the school board.
Well, there's a
Alright.
communication issue, because if they saw that, we didn't see it until today.
No,
We've
Did
seen
you see
this
those
before.
pictures?
Yes, yeah.
Sure.
We've been saying that for months.
I can,
It's been in.
Go
All
back
the
to-
stuff that's been in the possible options, and
Yeah,
everything that we've
yes.
been getting, so we have to use those options now.
Well, I don't know the school board's gonna care if the tulip is yellow instead of red.
That's my whole point. The school board basically said, we don't wanna be in this mess, we own the ground.
They don't, they own the whole thing, Ron.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They own the ground.
No.
That's what
own
they just
the
said.
park. No.
So why did they tell us we can't put the mural on the ground then?
Because they own the ground.
That's what I just said. They own the ground.
They own the building.
They also own the building that the ground is on.
So what are they telling us?
Just like your house, you own your house and it's on your ground.
This is not Baltimore, this is not a ground grant, okay?
So we have nothing to do with what the school, what these kids want to do. They should go to the school board and ask them and forget about us and just do whatever they want.
Well,
Because we
we
have
have-
nothing to say about
We
it.
lease the
came through
property.
us.
We lease it.
complete per the agreement on the structures placed on the ground.
So are we gonna approve this project, or is the school board?
They both should.
We both should, so we'll be doing this for 6 months.
Well, the school board already approved that, we already approved that. So, it's ready to go forward.
Look at the positive side, right, get your wildfire.
That's probably my last.
I have no idea where to go with this anymore.
Don, well, the Girl Scouts did reach out to me over the weekend, and they'd like to move forward in some fashion. So if I can be able to tell them what we can do or can't do.
It can paint the windows.
They can
Folding
paint,
them up and
I'll
painting
make
the
a
windows.
motion, they paint the windows and leave the walkways the way they are.
We can't do it. We're talking about the council, it's not an emotion on the agenda.
Well, our last motion at council was to was to approve everything as long as the school board approved it.
They
The
didn't
school
approve.
board has approved the windows, but not the ground.
So let's move
So
forward with
the
what they
Girl
approved.
Scouts are able to move forward with the windows.
I'm good with that. Perfect.
And then at some point, if they wanna do Wyo Hills as well, then they just need to send it I would
Sketch.
suggest doing the side of the bathroom facility there, the cinder block bathroom. I would not suggest doing something on the ground. Because flag or no flag, it's on the ground, it's gonna fade.
Greg,
So if they wanna do something over
When
there.
you respond to them to let them know tentative start dates, when you let them know if they wanna do something at the hills, it would be preferred / highly recommended to do it on the building, and if they wanna do something
about it
different
on the
than these window
Yeah.
boxes, send us a design
On
to
the
look at.
inside part of it.
Yeah.
Not
Thank
the
you.
street side.
Yeah, do it on the inside wall, it's a solid wall there, I think, on the,
I
it's
think so
facing
too,
in
yeah.
the street. That would be a great spot for a mural, flag,
Okay.
otherwise.
Then we're moving forward.
There's
How
no
about-
great spot
it's
for a
up.
mural.
John's not a fan of murals.
Are the facilities guys ready to take responsibility for?
That's all, it's vertical, it's a mural.
Yeah,
Or you guys, we're not
not
talking to the school board now.
Ron, if it gets too out of, if they
We'll
do
paint
it,
them one
if they do
color.
it shoddily and it falls apart in the air, we'll spray paint it white.
They're not gonna do it shoddily, and
I'll
I'm
do it.
sure they have Mike Miller on board assisting them, and he is a muralist, it's gonna
Yes.
be fine.
Mike does a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, he worked with the Girl Scouts that did the one behind the bell tower just recently.
Oh, the one on in the parking lot.
Yeah,
I was wondering who did that.
yeah, that was a Girl Scout group, and Mike assisted them.
You wanna put a
It'll be
flag
fun.
up, you can put a flag in that corner property.
They could put a flag up on the wall.
Happy
Yeah,
Hour
at
at
Olive
at
Hill.
Wyomissing,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, we killed that bird.
Yes.
Borough facilities,
I had asked this be added as a standing agenda item, so anytime there is a concern or an issue with a borough-owned property or facility, we can talk about it without, sometimes things happen a day or two before a meeting and we don't have time to amend the agenda. So on that note, I know Greg has an update about multiple borough-owned properties.
Yeah, I got stuff. The skating pond, with the leak, we filled it up again, and it still leaks. We have an idea kind of where it's coming out. We're gonna drain it down again, pressure wash it, and look into having it sealed like a driveway. So it's just gonna be a process.
And to clarify, the leak was not discovered until early December of 2024, after the Stonehouse Park project was finished, and the pond was never part of the Stonehouse project.
Correct. Yeah, it was drained for a long time. One of our theories, it's just a theory, is because we're in a drought, and the pond was drained for so long, the water table underneath the pond dropped. So it's, it's just,
did it drop because there was no more leak going into the ground?
I don't know.
There's no smoking gun, there's no hole or
No.
big crack. I think it's just slowly leaching through the floor, which is blacktop.
It's blacktop. It should kind of, it should go through that.
Okay.
Something that was
What
wrong-
color are you gonna seal it with?
Black. Same color it is, we're not changing it. We talked about blue or something, but.
I'm good with brown. Go ahead, I'm kidding.
The skating pond, I've heard this a couple times with the skating pond. Public Works is not out there getting the pond prep for ice skating. This year, I think we had probably 14 days of skating, which we thought was pretty good. Through the chatter, we heard folks were not satisfied with that. A couple of things that go along with the pond and getting it prepped is temperature. It can be freezing outside, but if the sun's out, the pond's not going to freeze.
It's because the bottom's black.
It's because the sun's shining too. And some folks think, hey, it's cold out, why aren't they out there? It just doesn't work. Another thing with the pond maintenance is when we do it, it's usually between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. Another part of that is the time of year, if we're doing snow removal and the guys are out for 12 hours for the snow removal, I have to think of a couple things. I have to think of our safety. Is there another storm coming? I have to think of our daily tasks that we have to get done. So it is a decision, and budgetary, where we're at budget-wise. This year, we used most of the budget for the winter. It's not just, oh, do we want to do this? It's, hey, how can we do this and how can we make this happen?
This has been a fight. I've been on council for 9.5 years. It's been a fight since day one. You have a good ice skating pond. Everything's able to ice skate on it. It snows 6 inches. You gotta get the snow off the street before you get the snow off the.
Well, and then all the snow in the pond insulates the ice.
Right.
People go, why don't you clean it off? Well, we can't. We
right.
can't get on there because it's not frozen under.
I agree it's a gem in Wyomissing, but it's a poison pill at the same time because you can't treat that with higher priority than you do the streets. You just can't do it.
And if I have to, in case there's a water main break, I have to keep enough guys able to come in for a water main break. But it does make us happy when, we can drive by and see everybody out there skating.
Well, it's a whole thought process. 30 years ago, I'm sure there were 5 guys that were prepared in September to take care of the pond because it was snowing all the time and everything. There were people there every day of the week. Now, if you guys say, or you guys just stay over here and wait till it snows, you don't do that. You guys are working at everything that you have to do to keep the snow off the ground to drive the cars. So when you have to do this, it's triage. And it's triage, and it could be a month worth of triage. And who's going to pay for it, and how do you do it? So I'm not sure there's an answer to that unless we say this is what we're going to prepare for, and you guys have that capability to do it. Because you're never going to have it. Because what are you going to do with those people? Just have them hang around until it snows?
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
No, it's not going to go over well for people driving. It's not going to go over well for the kids who want to play ice hockey. We never had ice hockey 30 years ago. All we had was people ice skating.
Well, 50 years ago, Mr. Burnett used to live
Right.
upstairs
He lived
at the Stone House, and he used
You
to
would take care of it.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So if we're not gonna do that, we can't expect them to do it because he's not around anymore.
And I often think, I don't know if this is right or not, but people have idyllic memories of childhood. And when they were children, it froze for 2 or 3 weeks, and they remember that. It was great. But as you become an adult, you're like, we used to skate on there all the time. Well, the reality was, it happened 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 weeks a season. Also, you just have a better childhood memory of it. Yeah.
2 weeks lasted longer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Greg, the one thing I'll say is, don't take it personally. We're in a climate right now that there's a lot of attacks and they're being made towards council, not towards any departments. Randy's been hit, you've been hit, I'm waiting who's gonna get it next, but it's a political issue for the current council.
Well, for me, it's an education, it's a chance to let people know it's not just going down and shoveling off.
It's a priority, it's just not the top priority.
Hewitt House, we had the tub resurfaced this week, and we're gonna have a new electrical panel installed in there in the next month or so. The library, there's no big plans for that this year. Looking at replacing the left front door over here. Firehouse has been a hot item. We had a structural engineer going in the firehouse. Structurally, the firehouse is in great shape. Cosmetically, we have an estimate from Whitmer for the exterior. This year we had pieces of brick falling off, mortar falling off. I would highly recommend that we try to get something done with that building before this winter comes.
Yeah, I don't think that's a
It's not-
request, that's a, we need to, cause to go through another freeze thaw cycle,
It's only gonna get worse.
That's been happening for years, hasn't
I
it?
thought we talked about that
We've been here
like
for a
a
couple, so-
mountain here.
it's 70 to 90,000. Well, we talked about a temporary Band-Aid to get us to the point that stuff is not falling off, but to do the permanent fix, it's anywhere between $70 to $90,000 depending when we put it out to bid.
We've done everything we can do, and through that little bit of research, we found the header brick above the one window. Actually, 4 of them were missing, and somebody had stuffed insulation in there, and that's all that was in there. That's being worked on today. We replaced the soffit and the lower overhang last week. It was a change to the drawings. It's not original to the drawings. They added drywall outside and then just plastered over it, and that's why it's all sagging. It's just a bad material with a span between like this, and that's not good for drywall.
So you're telling me that's a $70,000 to $90,000 item that's not budgeted?
Well, and the overhangs aren't budgeted in that either. They need new roofs, and those overhangs should be ripped off and replaced with vinyl and aluminum siding.
So we are in the process of, you may recall, August of 24, we found out that we got $500,000 from the state for the purchase of a new fire apparatus. Knowing we just bought an engine, we can't use the money towards a vehicle we already bought. We're not buying another piece of apparatus in the next 2 to 3 years. There is a request that's been submitted to the CFA through the state to ask to flip that money from the apparatus to the station. The initial response we got back last week from our grant analyst, was no. After sharing that with Kathy Bruder, our lobbyist, she lit a fire under herself and is going to be going to the executive director of the CFA to basically have the conversation of, please justify to me why, when it's under the same umbrella of the same department within the borough, it would not be a reasonable request and approved to flip the money. So I'm hopeful the answer is going to be yes in the long term, but there's no guarantee.
So where are we talking about the total, the bricks falling off and the soffit? What are we talking about? Roughly. How will hold you to it?
120 for new roofs, new soffit, and the work that needs to be done on the outside. And that price is from 2 years ago. So we have 130, 40,
150.
Let's take that.
I don't know about what everybody else thinks, but my initial reaction is, let's get the damn thing fixed.
Do you want to maybe hold off until we
Yeah,
get?
I think we can hold off for a short amount of time, and that is
Yeah.
maybe until the next month's meeting. If not, maybe the following, but
I would
you're
hope
right,
we
we gotta
would-
get this done.
Yeah, I would hope we would have an answer through then. It's just, we have to put this out to bid, and if we bid an award before we get an answer, it's no longer eligible for reimbursement through the grant.
Yeah, we might as well check to see if we can get the $100,000 or whatever number back, use the current grant or a new grant, but at the end of the day.
Since Chief Hummins is here, let me, maybe more clarification than I can. Recently read something that the new fire commissioner created a new grant, or money was moved over there for either new stations or improvements, quote unquote. Is that strictly for volunteer stations, or can it be used for anyone?
No, so the competitive grant that you're speaking about isn't open yet. We're looking potentially for October this year to roll that out. It'll mimic what the federal assistance to firefighter grants is. Be highly competitive across whether you're a combination career or volunteer station here in the Commonwealth.
So we need to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
We are.
But what about the relief stations?
It's not a safety issue.
So if a brick falls off.
Well, no, it's not personal protective equipment. Let me
Got
put
it
that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's find out what we got in the oven today, see if it ever cooks, and if it doesn't, I think we gotta move forward with it.
Did we apply for this grant, this 500,000 that we have for apparatus prior
We-
to
we-
purchasing?
We applied in 23, but it wasn't for the engine. And that was done when we had a different fire chief and plan was different. It was when we were under the intergovernmental
Well,
agreement.
what did we apply, like, so we applied for that 500,000.
We applied for a new aerial piece.
So we okay, well, we applied for an equipment that we needed to buy. I don't know.
They're considering apparatus to be vastly different from building and
Well,
repairs.
right.
But I mean, that's
But it's
where
like
we're
by the
trying
time it came in, we already
Yes,
bought
yes.
apparatus.
And we asked about being able, since we hadn't actually taken delivery of the vehicle, if we could put it towards the engine. The answer was no. So now the request is, can we just flip it to the overall building?
Because
So
we had to buy the apparatus before the money was came in. Okay. Thank you.
The pool, we believe we found where the leak is in the pool. That's an in-house project, so we should be working on that next week. I believe it's next week. Stonehouse gazebo, Eagle Scouts have been working on that. They're doing a great job. It looks really good. Mega Chuck fuel tank, Jim touched on. We'll be working on getting them together. And the last thing is we had a little incident over at the maintenance shop, the tree truck. The tree guys were working on the tree truck and went to pull it into the wash bay and did not put the boom down all the way and caught the building right above the garage door. So we have that.
thinking what damages 25 to 30,000.
Fortunately, it was the old tree truck and not the new tree truck.
Like brand new tree truck.
Truthfully, they were switching from the old truck to the new truck, and they were cleaning out the old truck, and I think they were a little bit excited about the new truck, and it's no excuse. There's no excuse for it, but I think that's what happened.
Well, we're gonna have to get that fixed, and I would assume that they've been notified that they did it.
Yeah, the insurance carrier was notified with a claim last week. I'm not sure if it's gonna fall under general property or builder's risk, but either way, a potential silver lining is the deductible may be reimbursable through RACP as well as the overall repair costs. And yes, Greg has taken appropriate personnel action with the two individuals involved.
So let me ask one more question. Not to beat a dead horse, but the median at Potomac Lutheran, there's a spot there, the risk of everybody thinking something else. The spot from the river rocks to the grass is all dead something. Is that going to be returned to grass, or are we going to have another real suggestion?
I think it's just dirt, right?
Yeah, it looks like weeds from the river
Dead
rocks
grass.
to the grass. So either plant grass again, or there's another idea, because it's not grass at the moment, it's just there.
No, it'll be maintained, wood and grass, extend the bed down.
Yeah, so there's no other project there, it's just grass.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else with the borough facilities? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. Meeting adjourned.